Okay, how's that? Hey, it works. Yes. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like the workspace. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun workspace. Yay, it works. Apparently, my computer decided to change all my my audio settings this morning, so I've been having fun trying to reset everything. But welcome to the stream, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Oh, thanks. I just found this shirt in a closet, and I figured, might as well wear it. Don't usually get to wear white. Plus, it makes it stand out from the background a little bit more. So, yay. Tony, hello. Savalas, hello. Gamical, Gudrum. Hope you're all doing well. Let's get back into this here. Boop. There we go. So, welcome to the stream. This is the first stream of the winter term and the last stream of 2019. So it's kind of a fun little dual stream today. So for today's stream, I wanted to kind of keep it open because I know there's a lot of students coming into AM this term, a lot of new students, lots of new animators starting their journey. So I wanted to kind of keep this Q&A open for any questions, any comments, anything like that. Alongside that, I will be animating. I will be working on that Zelda shot that I've been working on for the last few weeks, months. We will be working on that. But if anyone does have questions, definitely feel free to ask. That's what these Q&As are all about. These streams. And Fox Fury, hello! So, let's just jump right in here. Now, I have to reset my whole desk. Too much stuff. And jump right in. So, this is the shot that we've been working on for the last few weeks. And, a question. Do you have any recommendations on software to edit video reference? I would recommend DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve is a professional level editing software. It's on par with programs like Adobe Premiere, except it's completely free. And I can't type, so I'm trying to... There you go, DaVinci Resolve. So here it is, and I'll give you the link to this. So DaVinci Resolve is a great free program. Like I said, on par with Adobe Premiere. You can't get it for free? Really? Let's see. Did they change it recently? Let me double check this here. So DaVinci Resolve. And where can I download the link? Download. Yeah, you should just be able to get it right here. Does it... Let's see. There is the studio version. You shouldn't need that. You should just need the main one here. Let's see. Oh, I shouldn't put that all on stream. Let's see. I'll just see if I can quickly try to download this here. Just as a test. And I'm in Manitoba. Okay, yeah, so I just filled out that information and it should just auto download. So I filled out the information, just hit submit, and this is the link I got. Does it just not go through to this? Or does it just sits there and does nothing? And I'm not going to download this because that's a gig. And Peter, hello! You get that. And it doesn't start downloading. If not, I think you should just be able to click on the link here, and yeah. So that should download as well if you click the link. And it doesn't do that. So if it's still not downloading, one thing to do is to try a different browser. So if you're using Firefox, try Google Chrome, or vice versa. Oh, when you install it, it doesn't work. Does it come up with any specific error, or does it just not go through? I was animating. I can show you my bit Sure, definitely. I'd like to take a look at it. Exactly. Do you get any specific error that comes up, or it just doesn't? It doesn't go through. Interesting. And I'm assuming you're on Windows 10, or I guess you could be on a Mac too. It is available for both. Okay, PC. So interesting. I'll have to do some research on that. Let me actually write this down here. Get my notepad. Boop. And let me write this down so that I don't forget. And I'll do some looking into this for you. And just to double check, so I'm assuming you're on Windows 10? Let's see, how will you reach me? I can message you on Twitch here. So I could just message you through here. Otherwise, if you're on the AM site, send me a message and I can respond to you on there. So just look up for me on the Animation Mentor website, Beau Pratt, B-E-A-U, and then just send me a quick message and I'll be able to reply to you through there. Okay. There we go. So, yeah, hopefully we can get that resolved, because definitely this is... I don't personally use this because I've got the Adobe suite, but my brother uses this and is really equivalent. Both programs are really fantastic for editing. If you can't get that to work, or if you want something else, those are really the top two right now, is Premiere and DaVinci Resolve. At least they're easily accessible. Is it possible to use the camera sequencer in Maya without making the audio off sync? I personally don't use the camera sequencer in Maya. So for anyone who doesn't know what that is, if you go under, I believe, Windows Animation Editor Camera Sequencer, this is a tool that allows you to have multiple cameras and basically play blast and make a bunch of sequences all into one play blast, instead of having different cameras that you then have to edit separately. Now, in terms of making the audio off sync, I've only used this with non-audio shots, and to be honest, I don't use it that often. I like to edit things myself and bring in all the clips and kind of create all the transitions manually. My preference when it comes to audio as well is I always, when I do a play blast with an audio shot, I will play blast it with audio, but then I add the audio in myself into the actual editing software. This allows me to control exactly where the audio falls, and I don't have to rely on something like Maya, making sure that it doesn't offset things a little bit, which can happen quite often. So, unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you on this. Personally, like I said, I like to take it, I like to do it manually because it gives me the control over everything. And then for the audio, it makes it so that I can edit all the little pieces of audio, remove sounds I don't like, make certain parts louder, quieter, especially when I'm dealing with a sequence. I wish I could give you a better answer for that one. But maybe the next shot I'll do is a dialogue shot, maybe a quick one, and I'll do some testing on the camera sequencer. See if we can replicate that issue. Now, Peter, let me take a look at the shot here that you posted. So, did you post the link on Sync Sketch? And actually, oh, you just gave the download link. That download is not huge, so I can just get it right here. Typically, and this just goes for everyone, if ever you have a shot that you'd like reviewed, Sync Sketch is a great website if you're not on the Animation Mentor campus that you can upload to. It's completely free, and it allows for drawovers and frame by framing. It's just a really cool piece of software. So I definitely recommend checking that out if ever anyone wants to upload some shots. But let me download this. Is it downloading? Trying to download your shot here. Okay, there you go. So let's open this up here and see what we've got. It is in sketch phase. Okay. There we go. So we've got this. I'm assuming this is the one. So let's take a look. Oh no, wait, this is the original, I believe, right? One frame has crop notes and I need to make shutter smaller. Okay, yeah, so this is definitely, I'm guessing, not the right one. Okay, there you go. I see it now. Let me download that. And let's open it here. So, let's see what we've got. Nice. Okay, so quick notes for you here. Let's get the drawing tool up. So, oh, no worries. This is, I'm assuming, an animatic phase, so just early planning, trying to get things set up for your shot. And overall, it's working pretty well throughout. Animatic wise, there are a few things that I would recommend. This is, and this applies for everyone. An animatic is a perfect time to figure a lot of things out. That's the power of an animatic. And for anyone who's new to animation, an animatic is a planning animation. That's what it's there for. It's so that you don't start going into a bunch of different details. So for example, I'm animating this shot here. This is too much detail to put in for planning. This is starting to get into refined animation. We don't want to go this far when we're trying to figure out ideas. Exactly, it's a moving storyboard. That's exactly it. So in terms of that, we want to start planning out as many things as we can within the animatic. So this is motion, the way the character is going to react to things, all of that, the acting, the animation, that's great. But on top of that, we want to figure out the camera of the shot, the composition of the scene that we're working on. The composition is going to be very important in making sure that the story reads correctly to the audience and doesn't feel confusing. So for example, here, you've got the character very high up on screen. So if we kind of create a line here, he's quite high. And Spicy, hello, Spicy Chili. That's an awesome username. So the character is quite high on screen right here, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it makes it hard to focus on a character. Additionally, they're very much screen left. So typically when we look at a screen, we can kind of cut it in half, and we're going to have screen left and screen right. So screen left, screen right. And let's see. Mong is the center. I made the camera this way to show the overall character. Mong, I'm assuming him is he's supposed to be in the center. So if that's the case, top corner left, or is this Mong? Okay. So either way, oh, you didn't add him. Okay. So even with that, the composition right now is very top left justified, which basically means that everything is happening kind of in this quadrant, and it's very hard to focus even if there were more characters on screen here. So for example, let's say you were to add a character over here doing something. I've never watched Chatter, so I forget what the characters look like, but let's say you had a character over here, that would still be kind of very tight to screen left. And a kind of idea that you can use for composition is that you generally want to keep it open towards the direction the character is facing, unless you want to make things feel uncomfortable. So for example, let's go full screen here. If let's say this is the composition, and I'm animating a character walking across the screen this way, I don't want to have the character, if that's the center of the screen right about there, I don't want the character over that center line, because now this makes the direction that they're heading towards very tight and kind of uncomfortable, whereas there's a lot of empty space behind them, which doesn't tell a good or an interesting story all the time. And this is where cinematography has a lot of different interpretations. So for example, if I have a character shot like this, the story that we're basically telling is that we're not interested in where he's going or what's in front of him. We're interested in where he's left. So this could be the hero leaving his home behind and going and setting off onto adventure. And we see the parents or whatnot hiding behind, or not hiding, but staying behind, and we kind of get this like goodbye moment. But in most cases, we're not interested in where the character came from. We're interested in where the character is going. So you want to have the character open up the composition to where the character is going towards. This way we can quickly see where they're going, and we're interested in the journey ahead. So it's very important to kind of keep these little things in mind. It's little details, but they tell a whole different story. And this is where studying composition and cinematography can be really helpful. So for something like this, the story is that he's going to be running into a monster. So instead of bringing him right to the edge of the screen, moving the composition so that he is a little bit more screen right, but also bringing the focus so that the monster and the character have... Oh, the animation software I have said drawing 1 wasn't found. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure. Interesting. That's not good. Hopefully it's recoverable. Drawing 1. Usually that's something like that sounds like it's a reference. A reference is not being found. So, in terms of composition, a simple rule that you can follow, and this goes for everyone here, a simple pleasing composition rule is the rule of thirds. So the rule of thirds is that you cut the screen into thirds horizontally and vertically. So usually you'd want to do this a little bit more cleanly, but like 1, 2. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So the rule of thirds basically is that the characters are going to be more easy to focus on, and the audience is going to have a better visual grasp of the scene if you put the important bits on these points. So those points are where the audience's eye tends to fall naturally. This is not the one and only rule, but is one rule. So this, along with the center line, so let's add that here, the center line, which is screen left and right, will help you to create a pleasing composition that works really well and helps to tell a story. So, how do we use these to tell a story? Well, one, we want to focus the attention of the audience to where they will be focused on. Two, we want the character, or we want to tell the audience that the character is progressing forward, that they're on an adventure and they're walking through the woods or doing something. So, we want to open up the screen in front of them. So in this case, by changing the composition so that the character is over here, on the screen, walking forward, you suddenly open up that front portion of the screen. The other character could still be walking behind them, maybe over here. So this is going to help bring the focus onto the characters and where they want to be going. Now you could even bring them a little closer. So because you're dealing with two characters, let me undo. Boop, 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 boop. You could even bring them a little bit closer to the center. Just don't go past this center line. In general, that's going to create a very tight composition. So maybe something like that, and then the other character over here. So this gives you a little bit more room to run away, and I think, yeah, so just like you said, you want him to be scared, then run right. So this will give you more room to run screen right. While still leaving the left side open for the journey ahead. Now, when the creature comes in and pops into the screen, right now it's stuck to the very edge of the screen, right over here. And we've got all of this space, right there, all of this space that is open and empty. So what this kind of does is it makes the monster feel small, which for a monster makes them not feel as imposing as they could be. Instead, we want the monster to come in and fill the screen. Also, it can help for the monster to push into the other character's composition or into their space. So when we're typically animating two characters, and this is what it is, the monster and then the main character, each character will tend to have their space, screen left or screen right. So for example, I'm animating a dialogue shot, and Jing, thank you so much for the host. Aw, thank you so much. I haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. So if we're doing a two character dialogue shot, you've got the center of the screen here, and you're gonna have one character talking and they're having a conversation, and then you'll cut, and now the other character's talking and center screen is still there, and you go left, right, left, right. That creates a nice back and forth that is interesting and dynamic. Now, if you want to push this and push the conflict in a scene, let's see. Okay, this is my pencil. So let's say we've got a composition here. And Soka, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate that. So let's say we've got our composition here. And we can cut this in half. And Savel, thank you so much for the follow as well. Okay, let's do this on the background here. Boop. So this is roughly the center. If I wanted to, I could turn on my rulers and get that perfect, but maybe right around there. Get nitpicky. So we've got our center line right here. Now, if you're doing a two-character dialogue shot, typically one character would be over on one side over here. Something like this. And then the other character might be maybe a little closer to camera, and we're kind of seeing the back of their head here. So we have this back and forth between the characters. One left, one right, and you go back and forth. And this works very well for a dialogue shot, or any shot really. Each character holds their space. But if you want to make one character feel intimidating, like a monster, or just like they're taking over the scene, start to have them encroach on the other character's screen space. So for example, we've got our scene here. So let's do, this character is going to stay in place. Just right here. So they're just standing right there. But now the other character, he's getting angry and he wants to have a fight or like confront the other character. So maybe they start to lean forward and now they're going over the center line. They have encroached into the other character's space. So suddenly, we have one character that is feeling much smaller, even though he hasn't changed. And let me kind of get this up here. Okay, so let's turn off onion skinning. So here, they kind of feel even. They feel like, yeah, they're both having a nice, pleasant conversation. You do this, and suddenly, even though he hasn't changed, he feels smaller, more vulnerable, because his space is being encroached on. Whereas the other one feels like they are gaining strength because they're the ones actually encroaching on the space. They are crossing the line. So by using this, you can create or have your monster feel more powerful. And Reed, hello! Thank you so much for the follow. So you can make your character feel a lot more powerful and stronger just with that. And a good example of this, and let me see if I can quickly find this here, is, you'll see this in movies all the time, but actually, give me 1 second. I think I might have it in my recent files here. Oh, I don't. Dang it. Okay, let me just quickly find this, because it's going to be a great visual example here. And I just need to find where I put the file. The joy of having too many files on my computer. Okay, here it is. So I want this one. And okay. So did it crash? Give me one. There you go. Now it's opening. So, this is Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back. And in this film, you have a fight between Darth Vader and Luke right here at the end. And in this scene, they use that exact composition to help sell the conflict and who is gaining the advantage in a fight. So for example, here we've got Luke and Vader fighting, and if we look at the center of the screen, which is right around here, Luke seems like he has the upper hand. He is pushing Vader back, and Vader is kind of center of his side. Now, does this mean Luke has won? No, he is still on his half. He's just a little closer. So it gives him the feeling that he has the advantage. But as the fight goes on, and for anyone who hasn't seen this, Vader gains the upper hand and basically trounces Luke. And as that fight continues, and we see the battle kind of push forward, you'll notice that Luke gets pushed further and further away from his side. So you can see we're starting on screen left, and Luke is just being pushed backwards, back and back and back. keeps getting pushed back. Now, if we take this center line again, his head, that's kind of the important bit, is his head is on his side, screen right. We cut to Darth Vader. Look at where the center line is. The corners are there, so the center line is here. Vader is not on his side, he is on Luke's side. And he encroaches into it even more as Luke backs away, kind of retreating into his side of the screen. And as he gets angrier, now he rolls into Vader's side to show that he is confronting him and he hasn't quit. If he rolled the other way, screen right, this would be him running away from Vader. By rolling towards Vader, it shows conflict. It shows that he hasn't given up. But Vader is still much more over Luke's side. And even here, we can see that it's split a little bit half before he encroaches even more. And right here at the end, he's really pushing into that side. So by using this basic element, it's not complex, but that kind of balance of left to right, and you can also use up and down. So for example, Vader is almost always taller than Luke. That makes him seem bigger, more imposing. It also helps that he is technically taller than Luke. But, so you can use that height to show the strength of a character, but with cinematography, for example, I believe it's, yeah, right here, just before the fight, there's a moment where Luke and Vader face off. This is the start of the fight, and if we look at the center, Luke is much closer to the center. He is the one kind of bringing the fight to Vader. He's also taller than Vader right here. Even though he's a shorter person, they've set up the camera so that Luke looks bigger. This makes it look like, hey, the hero might win. He's standing up to the big bad guy. Yes, we're cheering for him. Before the fight turns, and by the end, is just gone wrong. And Luke is on the ground, pushed into a corner. So, cinematography in that sense can be very huge and really push your storytelling on top of what the actual animation is. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Now let me bring in your file here again. Here it is. Okay, so I think I might have lost the drawings when it crashed there. So, hey, you got your files back. Awesome. Let me catch up here. Spicy, I took... I'm a junior at School of Visual Arts. I major in computer animation. Oh, nice. That's awesome. I'm horrible at animation, but I really enjoy it. Animation is tough, but it's a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite things. I love it so much. And if ever you do have questions about animation, definitely feel free to ask. That's really what these streams are all about, is helping answer some questions. Let's see. Do you think the scared frames are at least good? I'm confused on how to do them, even when looking at other references. Okay, so just to finish the composition idea, overall, I think the composition, and I wish I could just do a blank frame. Actually, let me just do it here. So if you did the composition something like this, maybe bring the character a little lower. So we've got the third mark there, and then there ish. I have a tool to make straight lines here. I should take advantage of it. So it's something like that. So bring them a little lower on screen. This is going to make it easier to show the height difference and make the creature seem bigger. So a little lower on screen, close to the center. This will give you room to run away. And then when the monster comes in, this is when you really bring it and make it like really big on screen and have it come in quite a bit. So something like that. So it comes in much bigger than him, pushes up, and then he runs away. Now, in terms of the scared kind of shake in the air, this is a animation technique that a lot of old cartoons used to make a character scared. So they'd jump and they'd have this shake in the air. And the actual way to do it is fairly simple, simpler than it seems at first. So basically what you would do, and I'll do this, I guess I can do a 2D to show this. So let's kind of go here, and let's say I'm just going to take a sphere. So we want to have this sphere jump up and then shake in the air. The easiest way to do it is you basically have two sets of drawings that you animate cleanly and then you flip between them. So to show what I mean here, let's say this is my first set of drawings. So I'm going to draw the character on twos every second frame. So up here, boop, and then he goes up, and I'm just going to create a nice clean arc right through here. So right there, there, on twos, maybe ease that in just a little bit more. Actually, maybe let's push that curve a little bit more too. I'm just doing a circle for speed's sake. So maybe something like that. So now we have this quick little motion right there, like so. So you just animate this one set of drawings. Now on the next frame, so we did this on twos, so now we do another sequence of drawings on twos, and we draw in between those, but just another nice clean arc. So I'm going to draw another set of drawings moving in the same way. So maybe this is going to be a little bit more stretched, so it has that shake effect. And I'm going to exaggerate this a little bit. So up like that, then it comes down, and then maybe up here, and I'm just animating that, making another arc right through here. And then maybe tone it down right there. So with that, we now have a shake that goes through the air. So with a sphere, this is not going to be super clear, but if you have a full character and you want this kind of shake, it doesn't take much. It's just a matter of offsetting. So this is something you can also do in 3D. So two layers, yeah, exactly. So you do two layers that are just offset by one frame. So let's say I want to do this here as well. So I'm just going to create a polygon sphere. Boop. Let's do that. And I want to do the same thing. So I would animate this sphere moving however I want it to. So maybe we'll just do a quick simple move like this. So it goes up and back. And then I'm going to, let's make sure one more frame. I'm just going to key it every 2 frames. Like that. So now we've got everything on 2s. Let's add frames on 1s. And take every second frame. I'll just do the translate Y here. And just offset it up like that. And now we've got a shake. And with this, I have control to make maybe the beginning a little less, build up in intensity, and then tone it down a little bit more. So there we go. So it's just taking that every other frame and offsetting them slightly. That's really it. And you don't have to make it that complex. So if you take out that secondary set of audio, I was reading the comments, that secondary set of drawings, it should just be a nice clean animation. I hope that makes sense. And John, hello! So let me catch up with the chat here. How do you approach timing on dialogue shots? Do you guide yourself based on the intensity of the voice? And how do you avoid even timing if everything is blocked on twos? Okay, so this is a whole other topic, but it is a very good question because it is a very tough thing. Overall, the timing of a dialogue shot is not that different from timing out a non-dialogue shot. The only difference is that you have dialogue that you can base your timing off of. Does this mean that you have to follow the timing of the dialogue exactly? No. For example, let's say I've got a dialogue shot, and let's go full screen here. Let's say I have a character that goes, "You," and like they just kind of yell out and point at someone who like they're after, or maybe someone stole something from them. It's, "You." So I could take that, it's just a small little line, and I could time it so that the motions work with that beat. So "you," it points, "you." That could work. Or what's often a little bit more interesting is if you offset the timing. So, for example, I could go "you" and then point. It doesn't feel as strong. Or "you." So it's point and then say the words. So in terms of the timing, you will take your timing based on the dialogue. A lot of it's going to have to line up with things that the dialogue says. You can't just have a character acting randomly in the dialogue just over top. But do not feel like you are stuck to the timing of the dialogue. It is going to be much more interesting if you offset things. Now, in terms of how to create interesting timing with everything blocked on twos, that just comes from making sure that your blocking is really solid. So for example, in my shot here, and by blocking is really solid is you want to make sure you get your timing in your first blocking pass. So for example, with this shot here, the timing is nice and interesting. When the character jumps, there's this nice hold. It's quick in some parts, slower in others. But if you look at my keys, for the most part, everything is blocked on twos or fours, which should make it even. The timing of the keys, and this is where it can get very confusing and it just takes a lot of practice, is that where you put your keys, for example, every 2 frames, that is your timing, yes. But timing, that would help. Yay. I haven't streamed in a week. I've forgotten all the tools. There you go. Full screen. Now you guys can see what I'm talking about. So, if we look at this, we've got interesting timing. Again, fast at the beginning, slow, and then kind of halfway between. So it's visually dynamic. But if you look at my keys, most of them are every 2 frames. And where you see like there's one here, this is just a little tweak that I had to do. For the most part, it's all on 2s. Does this mean that it's even? No. Your keys will determine your timing. That's a big part of it. But what's also going to determine your timing is your spacing. The green ones, these are in-betweens. So if you have the Anibot plugin, you can actually color your keys so that it's a little easier to keep track of things. So they're no different. It's just my red ones were my main keys. And then I added more in-betweens between them. So a good example of this is, let's do another ball here. So I'm going to create a sphere. And let's go full screen here. And I'm just going to bring it up above so we just see this. Okay. So I'm going to animate this sphere. It starts on frame 30. And let's have it move 12 frames to the other side. Like this. So it's just basic even timing. Now, if I break this up and start breaking things down, so let's go halfway between, set a key. This is even timing. And Spicy Chili, thank you so much for the follow. So the timing right now is even. It's 6 frames, 6 frames. But the way I adjust my spacing, so for example, maybe having it start a little bit closer to the first frame here, is going to is going to change my timing as well as my spacing. So for example, I could have this sphere really just hold right near the start. Okay, now let's break it down even more. Let's break it down on 2s. So I want to ease in there. Maybe have this go a little faster right here. And maybe have a little bit of an anticipation right at the start. So something like this. So my main keys, 30 and 42 are exactly the same. I haven't changed them at all. All I've done is I've broken it down on 2s, so my timing of my keys is perfectly even. But my spacing is dynamic, which makes the timing dynamic. This is where timing and spacing, like, they are interwoven. You can't get one without the other. So it's very important to really work with these two concepts together. So if we hit play here, suddenly we get something a little bit more interesting. And we get that staff that just kind of pops up. So this is a little bit more visually dynamic than what we had before. And without changing my timing, I can make it even more so. So maybe this is going to go a little faster right here. Maybe we'll overshoot here and really just make this pop. So let's actually maybe bring that back here. So a little anticipation, and then now we get a little pop right at the end where it overshoots and then settles. Again, timing, even and technically boring, but the timing of your keys, where you put each individual key, is not super important. It's the way you handle the motion across space and across the screen. That's the important thing. The timing of the keys is really just kind of a tool to get that across. So I hope that makes sense. This is actually an exercise I always tell all of my students to do. My brother and I, we always get our students to just create a whole bunch of spheres. So let me actually show you this. And this just goes for anyone here who really wants to kind of understand this concept. You take a sphere and then just duplicate it. So I'm just going to duplicate a whole bunch of spheres here. Now you animate them. So let's do the same thing. Let's do 24 frames. It gives us more range. So we're starting on 30. So like that, moving them across the screen. And now you've got spheres that are all moving exactly the same. Okay. Now take each sphere, and without changing the timing, without changing the start and end frame, try to make each one feel different. So for example, maybe this one here is going to hold a little bit more at the start, maybe a little bit more there, before holding a little bit more and just crashing right to the end here. And something like that. So now we've got one that kind of feels like a big wind up and a punch. Okay, what happens if we want one to feel like it gets hit instead? So maybe one of them, it just, within the first few frames, it gets smacked across like that. And then let's kind of overshoot and settle. Okay. So there we go. So just with these two, we've changed the feeling of these spheres. We haven't changed our global timing. They still all start and end on the same frame. But the way we work with our spacing between those has changed the entire concept of this sphere. It's not just easing out, easing in. They're getting hit or they're hitting something. That is what's going to get you that feeling of believability in emotion and contrast in motion. So I hope that helps. And now, Saval, the blue circle. If you're talking about here, the blue circle right there, this controls the staff. So this big staff here. And technically this big circle controls the blur on the staff. So I can turn this on and kind of get a motion blur effect, which I'm going to be adding in at some point. Now let's see, make sure I didn't miss anything. And the music stopped. I envy my friend who has been in the industry for 10 years. He helped animate Spider-Verse. Oh, nice. Yeah, the Spider-Verse animators are awesome. I know a few of them who've worked on there, and they are amazing. And Animation Mentor or iAnimate, both are fantastic. I actually work for Animation Mentor, so I've got a bias for that. You can actually see some info down below there. But really, Anim School, Animation Mentor, and iAnimate are three of the best online schools currently. I won't say that one is better than the other. They all kind of have pros and cons. They don't really have cons. It's just like pros and things that people prefer. For me personally, I love Animation Mentor. That's where I learned all my animation skills and all my animation knowledge. And I just love the community there. The community of Animation Mentor is by far the best animation community I've ever seen. It is amazing. It is so good. Most of the students, or most of the people in here, are students of Animation Mentor, and it's just so much fun to see everyone and meet everyone all the time. So yeah, those three schools, I highly recommend. Let's see, I post an image of the character in perspective to each other, the guy on the right. Okay. Good Donald Duck scare in House of Mouse. Okay. Just catching up. What is the big blue controller? Okay. Mod is fine. So it's you still okay. So I just need to make one ball going through the curve motion. You don't have to make a ball, you just have to make your character move. I just did one curve, but just have your character kind of like shocked backing away. Make it a nice clean animation, and then you add a secondary set of drawings to get the shake in there. And when you use motion blur is used to connect drawings, to connect big spacing. So for example, this is going to be easier to show in 2D. Let's say I've got a sphere here, and in, let's see, 3 frames, it's got to go all the way to the other side here. Now, that's a big pop. So maybe it'll ease out right there. So we ease out, and then poof, it goes all that way. This is going to be too much. That is not going to read. The audience isn't going to be able to follow the motion correctly. So what we do is we smear, blur, or add multiples to connect the two drawings. So the drawing over here would be kind of a smear. So something like that. So now, this is an extreme case. And there we go. So it goes whoop, and then catches up there. And I might add one more drawing just to kind of overshoot. So if we turn this off now, we get that. So it links the drawings together. So that's really what motion blur, multiples, things like that are used for. So a multiple, for example, would simply be on this one frame, drawing multiples of the sphere. So we'd have something a little bit more like this, for example. So on one frame, you'd have 4 spheres actually showing up. Let's see. I can't see it. Okay. What is the green one for? Oh, okay. So the green control. If you're talking about these ones, these are the spine controls. Post an image. Oh wait. The guy on the right fits in the screen. Okay, I think I've caught up now. iAnimate is great, but it lacks the community of Animation Mentor. Yeah, that's like Animation Mentor. The big thing about it is the community. I've gone to CTN and a bunch of other places, animation conventions and stuff, and I've never seen a community like Animation Mentor. Every time I go to CTN, like the Animation Mentor students are like gathering together, having parties, studying together, just like sharing knowledge. It's amazing. I've never seen that happen with any other school. So in terms of animation, you might think, well, a community, it's nice, but I want to learn the skills. The thing with community is the skills are like a huge part of it, but the community and the people you meet, the network you create, they are what are going to get you the jobs. They are what are going to help you keep progressing once you finish school, and keep progressing not just as a student, but as an animator, a professional. So never underestimate the power of the community and being a part of the community. And this goes for everyone here. Even just being a part of, for example, this stream or Sir Wade's community. For anyone who doesn't know, Sir Wade is an awesome streamer and YouTuber. There's some links down below to his channels. I definitely recommend checking him out. But being a part of a community and having people there to help you and being there to help others, that's a big part of it. You want to be there to help others as well. That's what's going to get you jobs and a consistent career versus the occasional job here and there and kind of just bouncing between and hoping for the next paycheck. So as much as your skills are important, your network is also important. And this is not to say that you should be like trying to kind of be a social butterfly and always talking to people and stuff, but just being a part of a helpful community. So nice. Let's see. I was thinking about taking iAnimate because of the game animation course, but community is a big thing for me. I'll think better then. The big thing is, and this goes for everyone, don't feel like you have to pick one school only. So for example, if you're new to Animation Mentor is a great place to start right from the mechanics and just learn all that. But once you have that, you could take the game animations from iAnimate, or go to Anim School and take their creatures, or stay with AM and take their creatures. There's not like there's this big rivalry between the schools. I am always happy to promote iAnimate and Anim School. Even though I work for Animation Mentor, I know the founder of Anim School, and I know a few people who work at iAnimate, and they are the nicest, most awesome people I've ever met. Along with like the mentors and staff here at Animation Mentor, they are so much fun to hang out with. It's not like there's this rivalry or like this, oh, we're better than you, or oh, no, we don't talk to you. No, it's just a bunch of awesome people who all want to just help students learn this awesome thing, which is animation. So if you decide to go from one to the other, it's never going to be held against you. Like, do whatever works best for you. That's really it. Let's see. In terms of Anim Squad is also fantastic. I personally haven't had much experience with them, but I know people who have gone to Anim Squad and just loved it. Absolutely loved it. So, do you know if it's possible to get the lighting files used to render my shot in the student showcase? I don't know if you'll get the files themselves, but if you message AM, I'm sure that they would be happy to possibly get you the shots if they can. I would recommend messaging Rachel at animationmentor.com. And that should get you a quick response, hopefully. Let's see, a lot of the students I had during iAnimate were already in the industry. Fellow students, okay. Yeah, that's definitely something. Sometimes you'll get like really high level students who are just there to polish their skills. And this is one of the... and Lord Sight, hello! This is something I did want to cover because I know a lot of people here might just be starting their animation journey. Like the new terms of Animation Mentor as well as the other schools have just begun, and we might be getting some new animators here. And one thing to keep in mind, especially if you're absolutely new to animation, and let me go full screen here. If you're absolutely new to animation, don't feel bad if you make a shot and then you look over and a classmate of yours has animated the same thing and it looks gorgeous. It's just, oh, it looks like it could be in a Pixar film. It's just so beautiful. And then you look back at yours and it's like, it's boring and it's not great. It's hard not to compare, but keep in mind that everyone is at a different stage in their journey. Some people come into a school with industry experience. They are there to help polish their skills, polish certain things they struggle with. So they're going to be animating and it's going to be brilliant. Some people have come in and they might have never animated before, but maybe they used to draw, or they used to do graphic design, or maybe film or things like that, which means they'll have an understanding of cinematography and of motion and of screen space that you might not have. So their shots will look better and just more pretty. Some people will come in with modeling experience, rigging experience, so they're going to be making these awesome props and sets that just look fantastic, and you're using a polygon cube, and that's it. Does that mean that they're better than you? No. It just means that they're at a different stage in their journey. When I started Animation Mentor, for example, I had zero animation experience, none at all. Zip. No sketchbooks, no flip books, nothing. But I used to do modeling and rigging as a hobby. So when I came in, I had a good understanding of Maya, of the tools, and it didn't take me long before I could just start animating and not have to fight the program. That's a big part of it, learning a program. If you're struggling to learn Maya, it slows down what you can actually animate. So I had more time to focus on animation. My brother, on the other hand, when he started, we started at the exact same time, he had never opened Maya until the very first day of class. But he used to do 2D drawing and illustration. This gave him a good understanding of posing and like body mechanics, body anatomy, all of that stuff. So in terms of animating, he was way slower than I was. He would start animating, something would go wrong in Maya, and he would just go, well, now I can't set keys. Why can't I set keys? And he would spend some time trying to work it out before asking me, what's going on? And it's like, oh yeah, just hit this button. Done. Keep animating. But when you don't know, it's this big roadblock that sets you back. We were lucky that we were side by side so we could fix each other's programs or fix each other's problems. For me, when it came to posing out a character and making an appealing pose, a character that looks dynamic and interesting, I struggled. It was horrible. When I had to draw planning and try to plan out a shot, it was awful. I could just do like basic weird shapes and that was it. Whereas he's doing these amazing drawings and he's planning down to the hand shapes that he's going to be using and like drawing out all the hands. Oh, this character is going to hold this thing just like this. And it's going to be this beautiful line. It's like, I'm just crudely drawing circles and I guess it goes here. So we both had different things that we struggled with and had experience with. Did that mean that we were both bad because we struggled in certain areas? No. It means that we were at different parts of our journey. Now, for you, if you're working alone, and this is where community comes in, if you're working alone, you're going to hit these roadblocks, and everyone hits them at some point. Some might have smaller roadblocks than others, but everyone hits a roadblock at some point. What's going to help you get through it is having a group of people that you can contact and go, hey, I'm struggling with this. Like, I'm trying to do this in Maya, and it's just not working. How do I do that? You ask, and they will fix it for you, or you might get some help with it way faster than if you have to sit there alone and staring at your screen for the 5th hour going, why can't I just hit the button that I was hitting for the last 2 hours and now it's not working? Why? And that happens. I've had times when I'm trying to draw and it's like my pen suddenly stopped working. So for example, this is a common issue I had when I started drawing, is like, okay, I can draw, perfect, but then I hit a small tool and okay, let's keep drawing, and like, I hope you guys can hear my pen on the tablet. I can't draw. Why can't I draw? Well, I created a tiny little selection, which means that I cannot draw on anything other than that selection. You deselect, and then you can draw again. I don't know how many times I've done that when I was a student, and I would get so frustrated and I'd have to turn to camera and go, why is my program broken? What has gone wrong? What's wrong with my pen that I can't get this drawing working? And he just leaned over my keyboard, hit the deselect button, is like, oh, thanks, and then keep drawing again. Okay, thank you. Feel so stupid. But when you're not used to it, every program has these things. Maya is filled with them. There's so many things that you hit the wrong key and now you're in a whole different tool set. Is that a bad thing? No, but it is learning. So, don't, bring it back to the original topic, don't compare yourself one-to-one with students or with other people. It's just going to dishearten you, and it's not going to be a true test of where you are. Instead, if you look at other people, look at them and try to figure out what they are doing right. Don't just compare yours to theirs. Look at theirs and see what makes theirs work, whereas yours doesn't. And this takes time to build up that skill, but it's basically analysis. Just like I was doing with the composition, breaking things down to their basic forms or basic elements. So you look at their shot. Okay, why is their shot? It's easier to focus on the object versus mine. Well, is my composition, is my character way too close to the edge? So for example, if I've got my character over here and I've got this whole acting shot, this is not a pleasant composition if I'm just sitting here. For example, if I did this whole stream like this, it feels very strange. It's like my face is somewhat cut off. There's all this empty space right here. It's just kind of strange. Whereas if I did it also like this, and I just did a whole stream like this is definitely not much better. It definitely feels strange as well. So you break down the composition. You break down the animation elements, the 12 principles. What are they doing right versus you? So now instead of just looking at something and putting yourself down unfairly, you are learning from someone else. That's huge. Additionally, just a better looking Majora. There you go. Ta-da! The eyes light up. I should turn them on one day, but it is a little too creepy to have lights shining right above my head. But the other thing is, don't be afraid to ask people, especially if you're an animation mentor. The community is amazing. If you see someone and their shot is just like, wow, what did they do that makes it so good? How do I get to that point? Message them, ask them like, could you give me any tips on how you achieved this thing? I'm trying and I just can't grasp it. 99% of the time, they will be willing to help you in some way. Either take a look at your shot or write you some tips and whatnot. Be active in the community. Don't just sit passively by and go, man, their shot was good, mine sucks, oh well. I guess I'll just stick with this. No, you're still going to get there in the end. You're still going to make it to the end of the journey. But you're going to be slower than if you went, oh man, their shot's good. Hey, what did you do that made that so good? Oh, really? And then you go and see someone else who's struggling and go, hey, that guy whose shot is really good, they did this. You should try it out too. It really helped me. And now you're spreading that knowledge and everyone is building up their skills much faster than if everyone's sitting in their corner just going, well, I'm not good. That's not fair and fun. Instead, you want to share the knowledge. You want to be an active participant in the community. And this goes for any community. Art, drawing, sculpting, anything. If you're just staying alone and dwelling on the fact that you're not where you want to be, you're not going to get there as quickly. And this is not to say that you should never feel bad about your work. I always feel bad about my work. When I'm trying to draw something and it turns out awful, it's hard not to take it a little personally. But don't take it so personally that it stops you. Instead, analyze what went wrong, figure out what's not working. So what was the original question? Yeah, I went on a whole tangent here. This was just it wasn't even a question. I just wanted to bring up the topic of some people do progress faster than others. Some people are at a higher level when they start than others. Don't let that discourage you, and don't let that stop you. If that was the case, my brother and I would have stopped animation on day one, because we had classmates that were amazing, like Disney level quality in their work, and they were in class 1. And Cameron, for example, had trouble just moving the Maya camera, and I couldn't draw a straight line or even a circle. So if we had quit based on that, we'd never gotten where we are now. So yeah, took me a long time to get out of that mode, but I'm glad for you and other streams being so open. It comes from a place of I've been there as well. For example, when I used to try to learn how to draw, I would try to draw like for a week, and it would be awful because I hadn't drawn for months before. And I'll start drawing again. Draw for a week and this sucks. I'm terrible. Quit. A few months later, let's do it again. I really want to learn how to draw. Draw for a week. This sucks. Quit. I'm never going to get anywhere if I do that. So now whenever I'm learning to draw something different or to approach a different drawing, same with animation, the first ones I know are going to suck. They're going to fail. That's the whole point of learning. But then you take that, analyze it. Why did it not work? Look up reference, look up whatever you can to learn from it, and then you reapply it with that new knowledge. And that one might look a little better. It might not succeed, but it'll be better. And you just keep building on that. And you approach it systematically versus just doodling and animating randomly, hoping for some results. Let's see, and I think I missed another question here. This is what I find a flaw at the School of Visual Arts in some way, because the level of animation isn't strong. It's great for look dev, but in terms of animation, not many people animate, and if they do, some students don't like to help each other. Oh, that's not fun. Students, at least all the students I know of at Animation Mentor that I've ever that I've ever interacted with as a student and now as a mentor, are amazing. Like, if you need something, they're there. They create groups and hangouts, and it's just fantastic. I'm not sure where you are in the chat, but I was asking if the motion blur came with the staff. Oh, sorry, I missed that. That was something I created. if it is the send one, how do you do it? Did that the motion blur was my question. The motion blur in general or on the staff? And catching up with the chat here. I couldn't animate a bouncing ball for the longest time, but over time I understood it. Yeah, it just takes practice and it takes time, and often the big thing is understanding or hearing something in a different way. And this is something I really try to do at Animation Mentor along with the other mentors, is we have a lot of topics that kind of repeat the same information over and over, but it's explained in a slightly different way, because a lot of times you might hear something and it's like, that makes no sense. I've been learning about the bouncing ball, for example, for weeks now, and I still don't get it. And then you'll hear something else from someone else, and they'll explain it. It's the same stuff you've heard before, but they say it in a different way. And someone's like, oh, that makes sense. It's so simple. Why didn't I get that? And I had so many of those moments when I was in Animation Mentor. It is something that happens, and it's something to be aware of. Is if you're not understanding a topic, try to find different sources to understand it. Now, Peter, I did answer your motion blur question. So motion blur or multiples is a way of connecting drawings. So for example, if you have a big spacing, so like that, motion blur is used to connect those and to link them so that the audience doesn't lose their place visually and it doesn't pop. So that's usually what we use motion blur, smears, multiples for. Now, for the question on the motion blur on the staff, this was something I created. It does not come with the staff, and is basically, I created this so that I can add, when the character is going to be spinning the staff here, for example, and it's not going to show up here. Let me just boop. There we go. So when the character is going to be throwing the staff up like so, it's going to have this nice textured look and just this smear versus just being a straight staff. Now, the way I created this was I actually made a separate file. I didn't do this within the file itself here, because whenever I'm modding a rig, I don't like to edit in the animation file itself. I do it separately and then reference things in. So let me open up the work file here. Now it's been a while, so I'm gonna have to try and remember how I did it. It was not the ice rod. Let me open up a scene. Overall is just make the dude in the right side of the screen or in the bottom. I just want him to be scared, run the opposite direction while the monster tree comes out and chases him. It's going to be kind of a little lower and keep the character just off of the center, screen right. So not all the way screen right, not like way over here, but if you have the center like right there, your character is just like hugging that center line. You could even have them a little past it, but not over this way. So let me open this up here. And I have to remember blur. Okay, there it is. So this is the file that I created, which is just a additional piece of geometry that I can parent to the staff in my main scene and allows me to spin it like so. Now, the way I created this was I just created a polygon disk like so. It's just a basic polygon object, and I added a texture to it. So you can see this is the actual object right there. I added a texture to it that basically just has this blur. Now, the texture itself is made out of ramps in the hypershade. So let me open that up here. So this is the actual material right here. So it's a surface shader. A surface shader is a material that does not get affected by lighting. This way it's not going to get weird shadows if I bring my camera low like this, which is going to be helpful when it spins. And then I've got layered textures that link into this. One of them is the actual color of the object. So right there, you can see in the... Actually, let's do this. Let's set this to a plane. So that's the color right there. And then the other one is the transparency. This is what gives it that nice transparent look right through here. And the way I've created these is these are layered textures, which just like in Photoshop, you can layer different images and then edit them together. So I just edited a circular ramp like this with a kind of flat side to side and a transparency in order to get this kind of half and half look. And then same thing here, kind of this star pattern along with a circular pattern to create that map, which then all come together to create this one image. So it's a lot of just kind of image processing in a way, but because I've done it all in Maya instead of, for example, Photoshop, I have direct control over all the different elements. So for example, if I want to adjust the size of one of these elements, I can just animate this and adjust it however I can. Can a tutorial be made on the creating of motion blur? I could definitely create a tutorial on this. It's definitely complex to just kind of look at and just see it. But the basic principle is pretty simple. So I could try to do something. Now, what I'm trying to think right now is this is basically a motion blur for staffs or like something spinning. If you're doing a motion blur for something that's moving across the screen, that's going to be a different process. And I can actually show this here super quickly. So to create motion blur or smears or multiples on a moving object, so not really something that's spinning, but something that's moving, it's actually pretty simple. So let me actually make sure this is not keyed here. Like so. Okay. So let's say I wanted to create a smear right there, or a motion blur in the foot to just kind of link these two poses together. A very simple way to do this is to go to create, polygon primitives, and just create a polygon plane. So this is a flat piece of geometry, like so. Now, we have a few problems with this. One, it's a little too dense to work with. So I'm going to go to the inputs of the polygon plane and just decrease the subdivisions on this object. This will lower the amount of detail on this. So now it's very basic and simple. So with this, we can now put this into position. So I want this to kind of come from the foot here. So maybe something like this. And then I'm going to just right click on the plane and select the vertices. This is going to allow me to control the actual corners here. But I'm just going to kind of bring this off of the foot and shape it so it kind of creates an arrow or a point back to where the foot was. So the foot was about there. Actually, I got it pretty close. Maybe a little higher. So something like that. Okay. We've got that. Doesn't look great. So at this point, what I need to do is I need to start adding detail back in to make a nice soup effect. So with the object selected, I'm just going to hold down Shift, right click, and select the Insert Edge Loop tool. This will allow me to add a detail back into the object, which I can then select the vertices and start to shape it and curve this kind of swoop effect here. So maybe something a little bit more like so. And I'm just looking at this camera view here to make sure it looks good. So maybe I could, let's add one more, boop, right there, and just kind of do that. Now you can see it's a little bit janky on this view. It doesn't really matter what it looks like from the from this work angle here, as long as it looks good from the camera angle. So let's say we've got something like that. Well, we've got a swoop, definitely, but it's not really looking great. For one, it's very janky. Even though we've smoothed it out, it still looks not great. And you can see if I zoom in, it's not great. So select the geometry and then hit the 3 key on your keyboard. This will smooth it out. So now, even though we're dealing with a fairly low res object, we can get a nice clean swoop through the air here. If I wanted to, maybe I could connect this like right into the foot. Something like that. So you can just take some time, shape it exactly how you want. So let's say we've got that. Okay. So now we've got the swoop, but it's gray. Just default gray. I want it to be the same color as the foot itself. So to do this, I'm going to right click on the object, go to assign favorite material, and I'm going to select surface shader, which you can't see, it's just a little off screen here. But a surface shader, like I was saying before, is a shader that won't accept light. It's just going to be a straight color. So for example, let's make this red. So you can see with this, let me actually duplicate it. So we've got 2 of them. And for this other one, I'm going to just make it a straight Lambert, and actually undo, and just assign a new Lambert. Lambert is the basic default material. So there you go. So one has a Lambert, one has a surface shader. In this view, they're exactly the same. But if I move the camera, at some point, you'll notice that the Lambert starts to get shaded and it loses its color. It starts to get shadow, whereas the surface shader keeps its original color. It is straight color. So this allows me to very easily control exactly what shade I'm working with versus dealing with Maya's lighting, affecting things and tweaking things in ways I don't want. So we've got our surface shader here. Now, all I need to do is go to my color picker, select the color picker icon, and maybe grab a color from the boot. So right there, or maybe if I wanted to, I could maybe pick the brighter color. And it kind of matches the background. Let's undo that. There we go. So there we go. Now we've got that color right there. Lastly, all I need to do is animate this turning on and off, because right now it's just going to be there the whole time. So I'll just take my visibility, key that on this frame, and then off on the frame before and the frame after. And now, there we go. Boop. And when you play it at speed, you're not even going to notice it. Not really. But it connects things. Now I made it very big, so we definitely see it pop in. But you could just make little lines. You could make, instead of just one big one, like 3 or 4 small, just kind of straight little lines on there. You can do all sorts of things. But that's one way of creating motion blur. And it's simple. Like I took some time to explain this, but if I wanted to, I could make like a whole bunch of motion blurs in like less than a minute with that. It's not complex. And then if you want to do, for example, on this frame, you could add a few more. Now, another way to do it is you can create multiples, which is multiple pieces of geometry. And to do this, you just need to select your rig. So let's say I want to add another multiple right here, another leg. To do that, I just need to duplicate the mesh of the character. So there we go. We've got the mesh, which you can see it's missing a bunch of stuff, but that's okay. All I want is the leg. So I'm going to select all the faces here, delete them. Something like that. And now I can just kind of position this in place. Yeah, something like that. Maybe I'll rotate the foot just a little bit. Something like that. Once again, key the visibility. And now we've got multiples. So it doesn't take long once you know these like little tips and tricks to make these kind of more complex animation effects. And there you go. Oh, and EXE Ronin, these streams are recorded. You can, I believe if you go up to the top of the Twitch window, there's videos on the channel. They're all recorded in there. So if you want to just kind of see this segment, you can just see it from the beginning right there. That is a good connection there, Lord Sipe. So let's see. I think. Oh, and JC, how's it going? Hello. Can you add alpha channels? Yes, you can. So let me undo. So we get back to our undo. This is why it's nice to have infinity undos turned on in Maya. So let's say we have this and we want to make a gradient on this. So it's not just a solid color, but something more interesting. And this is where we start going into that blur effect I did for the staff. At this point, what we need to do is we need to add a ramp to this object. Now, when you're working with an object like this, a big part of it is going to be the UVs of the object you're using for a smear or whatever you're doing. The UVs are going to determine what is possible. And for anyone who doesn't know what a UV is, UVs are the coordinates of the texture space. So if you go to the UV window here and open up the UV editor, this arc has these UVs on them. This is because we started with a polygon plane. So it's a very simple UV set, which for what I need is actually going to be very nice to work with. I won't have to do much work with this. So to create a blur that actually fades away, let's go to the rendering editor Hypershade. And here we have our material right there. So we have our surface shader. I'm going to rename this just for ease of viewing. So this is going to be our blur material. Now we have our ramp, which oddly enough, wait, do I have something else selected? Okay. Interesting. Odd that we should have a ramp on there already. Let me delete that. Okay. So this is how it should come in. I'm not sure why it had a ramp attached. So we'd have our material. Boop. There we go. So our material, let's call it blur material. Okay. But this is a solid, just one color material. It's not super interesting to look at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add different materials to it. So for example, if I wanted to, I could create a ramp. So a ramp, if we scroll down here, there is a ramp shader. This is not what we want. We just want a straight ramp. A ramp is a gradient. It ramps up from one color to another. So if I took this, I could attach my out color into the color of the blur material, and now we get a gradient, which I could control, and maybe, for example, I could have it be the color we had before, but now it fades off, and let's use the color picker and take the that color and make it a little darker. So now we make something just a little bit more visually dynamic. It's not just a straight boring color. So we get something like that. Okay, so maybe I'll keep that in here. And with the ramp, you can actually just affect how you want the ramp to kind of look with these controls right there. Okay. And I just docked this. Pull it back up. There we go. Okay. So we've got a color ramp here. So let's actually call this color ramp. There we go. But we can also use ramps in any texture to affect transparency as well. Now, transparency in Maya is handled with basically values. So a value of 1 is visible, a value of 0 is invisible. So for example, if I take my blur material here and we have our out transparency, or actually, yeah, it's the opposite. So you'll see my out transparency has a value of 0. That means it's visible. If I raise this to 1, now it's transparent. So we can affect the visibility of our object based on that value, which also happens to coincide with black and white. Black has a value of 0, white has a value of 1, which means that if we create a ramp that is black and white and tie the color into the transparency, like so, we now get the ability to affect the transparency of our ramp and have it fade off wherever we need. So there we go. So now we went from a basic material that was boring and not that interesting to something that's a little bit more dynamic. It's got a gradient to it, a color gradient, like so. It fades off just by adding these things. And you can see we're starting to build out our network right here in the hypershade, which if we go back here, that's really what it is. You can see if we kind of just look there, it's the same thing as here. Just a little bit more complex, just a few more layers added in. But it's really just that. So this is where you can start to get really detailed in your work and make things that are just a little bit more visually interesting. So I hope that makes sense. Now, the other thing is, let's say I wanted to add some blur on the edges too. Well, this would be the ramp direction. So right now it's a V ramp. It goes from, I believe, up to down. So if you remember U and V, that's just like X and Y. X is left to right, Y is up and down. U and V, U is left and right, V is up and down. So if I switch this to U, now we get this effect, which could be kind of interesting. And just as an example here, let's say instead of this gradient, we set this to a U ramp here. Now what I could do is I could set this so that it actually controls based on the color of the boot, and I can match this blur to the color of the boot itself. So wherever there's a color change on that boot, now we get a different ramp. So something like that. Okay. So this is where, like, once you start kind of mixing these in, like, the possibilities just expand and expand. Okay. Well, how do we combine things? Let's say we want this, but we also want a ramp that changes it. And let's just take out the transparency for now. Let's say we want a color that has this, but then darkens as it goes down to the bottom. This is where a layered texture comes in. So if we go to, I believe, surface, other textures right here. Layered texture. This is one of my favorite textures in Maya. So a layered texture basically allows you to pump in two separate layers and affect them individually. So let's say we've got our color ramp here, and we'll call this the boot color ramp. So this is going to be the one that handles the actual color of the ramp. And this is also why naming things is very important. Next, I'm going to do another ramp, and we'll call this, well, what do I want to call it? Darken ramp. So this is going to be the one that darkens our color. So I'm going to take this and just put that boot color back in here. So we'll go from light to dark. And maybe a little lighter. There we go. So light to dark. Well, we've got our two ramps. But if I kind of take one, I could put it into the out color there. Okay, that's... Nah. Or I could take the out color here. One or the other. That's not what I want. I want to mix them together. So, with my layered texture, I can take my boot color ramp, drag it in as an object right there, and then let's take my darken ramp and drag that in as well. Now I'm going to put the darken ramp on top, so now you can see that one's the one taking precedence, just like a Photoshop layer. It goes from top to bottom. And I can do this in a lot of different ways now. Instead of actually changing the color, I could set this to maybe a darken layer. So now it's going to look through, and just like in Photoshop, if this was, for example, white, now this is kind of a normal color, and I can set this to darken like so. Or maybe let's set that to multiply. There we go. So I could use this ramp now to kind of darken that boot color that I had before. So maybe something like that. Okay. Now I can take the out color of the layer texture and bring that into the out color here. And now I'm mixing and matching both of them. I've got the boot color, but I also have this extra little bit that allows me to play around with some of the settings that I want. It's going to add a little color in there so it's not just straight black. So something like that. So now we've got a gradient on there. Like that. Let's see. How do you remember everything? Many, many years of practice. Um, let's see. Let's see. Oh, Prepros, did you ever use Toon Boom Harmony? My brother uses Toon Boom. I don't animate in 2D. I can doodle, but I can't draw consistently enough to animate in 2D. My brother animates in 2D as well as CG. So he actually streams on Wednesdays. If ever you have questions about Toon Boom Harmony or anything like that, 2D animation, he's the one to talk to on that. I know a few things, but I typically use Clip Studio Paint to do any animations. Hey, Mamarok, hello! Is he online? I think he's currently working. So he might be online, but I don't know if he's actually available right now. Let's see. I did want to show one more thing. So we've got our ramp here, and this is our transparency, which we're using to fade this off right there. But let's say I want to fade off the edges as well. So let's do another ramp. And this is going to be tip fade. And this is going to be edge fade. Oops. No, this is tip fade. So tip, fade, and edge fade. Okay, so the edge fade, we're going to switch to a U ramp. So going left to right instead of up and down. I'm actually going to tie it into the transparency so we can see what's happening. And then just do that. So now I can kind of push this and we get just a little bit of a fade right at the edge. Just a hint of a fade. It doesn't have to be much, but now it's not just a harsh line. Now we need to mix them together. So once again, let's take our other textures, layered texture, and bring them both in. So the way I'm bringing them is I'm just middle mouse dragging them into this main view here. And now let's just see if I can maybe switch the blend mode to get what I need. So this might actually be what I need right there. So I'm just setting it to add mode. So let's take that and put it into my transparency. And there we go. So now I've got an individual blend that allows me to blend the edges of the object, as well as one that allows me to blend down the length of it. So with this, we now have a material tree that if I kind of branch it out, you can see nice, interesting material that's giving us this very specific effect. So when you're trying to do things like this, you can keep it simple. More often than not, I would say simpler is better. Trying to go really complex with things oftentimes just makes it more of a hassle than anything else. And I will say oftentimes won't really add a ton visually. But if you do need a special effect, so now we have that, that creates a little bit more of a blur than just a solid polygon. So if we kind of go back here and let's duplicate this, and I'm just going to assign a favorite material, surface shader, and we'll just go back to the color we had before, just so we can see the before and after. So I believe the color I had was the bright one, which was this, or something similar. There. So this is what we had before, this is what we have after. Big difference. And you can see how one just kind of looks a little bit more blurry than the other. Does this mean that this one is not good? No. If you watch, for example, Into the Spider-Verse, they use smears that are just a solid color. They don't have any blends, they don't have any blurs on it. It's just a solid, just like this. Nothing else. So it's not bad. It's depending on the style of your shot, what's going to work better. So, yeah, definitely don't feel like you have to always go with it has to be visually dynamic, it has to have ramps and layers and blurs and gradients, and no, it doesn't. You can take 2 seconds or like a minute, create a polygon plane, shape it, add a surface shader, done. Nothing else, and you're going to be golden. And it's not worse in any way than something that you spend another hour on. Let's see. Oh yeah, and do you know how as a student we can get discount for Rhino House? I don't know if there currently is a discount for Rhino House. I know it used to be a thing a long time ago. My recommendation is, if you're an animation mentor, send in a support ticket to student care, and they should be able to give you all the information on any discounts you would get as a student, including Rhino House if it's still available. Off the top of my head, that's not something I typically deal with, so I'm not sure if it's even still a thing. I hope that helps. Let's see. This is the reason I started going back to 2D. Smears are so much easier. Yeah, smears are way easier in 2D. You just draw exactly what you need, especially if you have to smear like a face or something. So much easier. Do you know how? Okay. Let's see. Feel free to put in some help in the Discord as well. In the Discord, it isn't a short response, but they do give you a response. Yeah, lately, I will admit, I haven't had a chance to look at the Discord as much as I would normally like to. I like to keep track of it a lot more. But with the holidays, I've been kind of away visiting family a lot of these past few weeks. So I'm hoping to be a little bit more active on the Discord and be able to kind of answer some questions in there a little bit more. And for anyone who doesn't know about the Discord, there is an Animation Mentor Discord. So if you're an AM, you have access to that. But for the Pratt Bros, there is a Pratt Bros Discord link as well down below. So, and I believe actually if I do Discord, boop, that should be the link as well. So the Discord groups are basically places where if you have questions, you can ask them in there. If you have demo requests, so something you'd like to see in a future stream, you can put it in there as well. So different topics, different, maybe a specific animation you'd like to see done. You can put any requests in there, and as well just chat with people if you want. Get that community going, like I was talking about earlier. So yeah, it's basically a place to hang out and ask questions. Let's see. So with that, I think I hope I've answered everyone's questions. If I've missed any, I do apologize. I try to watch the chat as much as I can, but I do end up missing things. If you do have questions that I missed, feel free to repost them. I don't mind reposting, especially if I miss something. I don't want to miss your questions. But if there's no other questions, let's see. I've still got about an hour left before I have to go for some meetings, but we can actually probably start animating a little bit if there's nothing else here. If you go to AM student, you can go to resource, student resources, general. Oh, is it right there? Nice. Yeah, so if you go there, maybe it's in there. Yeah, meetings. I know. It was nice during the holidays. No meetings, nothing. Got to relax a little bit. Although I do have to say, it's kind of fun to get back into the groove of things. Let's see. I can send you a clip to analyze. Unfortunately, the problem with clip analysis, Like I did the Star Wars one earlier, but I still have to get in contact with Twitch about clip analysis because the rules on like showing films and TV and things like that, even other YouTube channels, is very finicky. And I definitely want to do clip analysis. I've got so many cartoons and movies that I want to do analysis of and like go into detail for you guys on, because I love to do it. It's so much fun to go through and analyze animation. But it is something I have to contact Twitch about first, or else they could actually penalize the channel, and it could cause a lot of problems if it's not done properly. But it is something on my list because I love doing it. It's so much fun. And for anyone who is in Animation Mentor, you guys, I hope you remember the movie Paloozas. So I used to do that quite a bit, where I would analyze a film and just do draw-overs of it and whatnot. It was so much fun to do, and I'd love to bring them back. So I wasn't there, but for my animation, can you put it into Synthwave or send it to me? I don't have any of the drawings anymore for your animation. If you do want to keep drawings that I do over your work, if you send the links, and this goes for everyone, if ever you want me to do drawovers of work for you, send me the work over Sync Sketch, and there's the link there, and I'll be able to draw over, and you'll be able to save the drawings. Otherwise, there's not really a way for me to send over the drawings to you. So yeah, it's free. It's just a great review tool in general. So let's see. I think I've caught up here. Just double checking everything. So let's see what I can animate on here. Hey, we've got all our spheres. So I think it's been a while since I've been on this shot, but I think one of the big things that we were working on last time, we did the hand animation here on the screen left hand. So it comes in, brushes the ground, comes up. I kind of need to pose it out right here. So this pose right there is not the most interesting. So let's see if we can, yeah, definitely not the most interesting. So I kind of just need to think of what kind of hand pose I want to have in this moment. I'm thinking she's jumping through. It should be a little bit kind of a wide hand pose. Something just like with a nice arc to it versus kind of a relaxed hand pose. She's jumping through the air, so I want something dynamic. This hand pose up here is going to be kind of it. She's just thrown the object, so it's going to be more of a point. Something a little bit more like that. But the one behind, I think, could be more open, just to show some tension in there. So let's see what I can do. The main control is still under her feet, even though I don't see it, correct? Yeah, the main control is over here. So this is the layout or root control of the rig. This controls the global rig positioning. I almost never animate this unless I really have to. Instead, all of the controls are animated with the individual controls here. And for the feet, as they come off into the air here, they go from IK mode, so there's this IK control here, and then they switch into FK mode right there, which basically allows me to have a little bit more precise control over the foot when it's in the air. And for anyone who's new to animation, the reason why you don't want to use the root control to move your character and animate your character is that it's a good global repositioning tool. So for example, let's say the director comes in and says, you know what, the character needs to be quite a bit higher. the layout department actually raised the level of the floor. Well, instead of having to reposition all of my animation and redo a whole bunch of animation, I can just take my layout control, bump that up, and let's zoom out here. Bump that up, and now my whole animation is higher. So it's just a good repositioning tool. If I need to rotate the whole thing, so now she's jumping this way. So let's take my rotate Y and kind of do that. Now I've got her, all my animation is still in place, just from a different angle. So it's a repositioning tool. If you animate it, you lose that ability. Let's see, I don't understand how she flipped with it getting, without it getting messed up. My last teacher told me that I have to do that. There's a lot of different ways you can do the flip so that it doesn't mess up. Basically, it's just keeping your controls in line with each other. So let me actually open up another rig here. So let's do this here. So new scene. And I'm going to create a reference. And let's use... let's see. Find my rigs. Okay. Let's use the Aya rig. I haven't used Aya in a while. So this is a rig from Animation Mentor that I'm referencing in. If actually they did not want a reference, let's try Jules. There we go. Weird. Oh well, we'll go with Jules. So when you're rotating a rig, a lot of it will depend on the rig itself. Some rigs kind of explode when you rotate them too much, in which case you might have to use the root control. But in general, most rigs, especially well-built rigs, will have controls that will allow you to rotate things intuitively. So let's say we've got to do we have our character here and we want to have them cartwheel. If I do this by default, you'll notice that things get funky very quickly. And our rig does not look so good anymore. Now, the reason this is happening is what are called follow align or follow controls. So these are usually in the arms, legs, and head, neck. So by default with this rig, when you move the arm or when you move the body, the arms will try to maintain the angle that they were at before. Same with the head. And this is good for lots of simple motions. So for example, if I've got a character who's pointing at something over there, and then I have to rotate the body, the arm is still going to point. It doesn't do this where the arm goes like that. This makes it easier to pose a character and keep a line that I need. That's very good. But when we're doing a flip, this control starts to get in the way because the arm is trying to maintain the angle that it was at before, which makes these very weird poses that you get here. And especially if you're trying to do a fast spin, this can be a pain. Now you can work with this. So if I wanted to, I could just take this arm, rotate it down, take this arm, rotate it up, take the head, bring it back. So I can still key this and have a flip where the character is going through. I just have to rotate everything to follow along. That's not so bad. But it can be a pain, especially if your character is moving quickly or if you have to make any changes. So a simple way to fix that is to take your arms and head, and in this case there's this follow align attribute. If I turn these off, I'll just do it on one arm and the head. Now if I rotate the character, the arm and head follow the character exactly. So you can see the difference in both arms right there. If I set this arm to follow align, boop, there we go. So now I can very easily have this character flip or rotate and his whole upper body works with him. Now the legs. the legs are not working. And the big reason for this is that they are in IK mode. IK mode is going to try and keep the feet in place where they were, which is not really what I want. That's going to be a pain to deal with. So I've got a few different options that I can work with when I'm in a situation like this. The first is that I can set the feet to FK mode, which is what I did in my shot. And this is typically the most common thing. So I'll take the feet, set them to FK mode, and then take the FK legs and set the follow align. So once again, right now, if I rotate the body, the feet try to stay in their default position. Select the follow align, turn that off. Now when I rotate the character, there we go. I'm rotating one control and everything flips along with. Done. Now another way you can do it with the feet, if your rig has it, not many people do, or not many rigs do, not that I know of, is... Oh, and do people animate in Blender? Yes, Blender is an awesome animation tool. Personally, I don't have a preference. Maya, Blender, they're both fantastic. I use Maya because that's what I've been trained on, but Blender is just as good. So with the feet here, I can actually change what the feet follow. So right now they follow the root control, which is this big control here. That's what keeps them on the ground. But I can switch this space control to follow, for example, the cog, which is the center of gravity control here. So now, even though that foot is in IK, it's following this control here. So I can still pose it just like I would with an IK foot. But as I move the hips, it follows along. So now if I'm animating a character jumping through the air and they've got to like do a jump and fly from one building to the next, I don't have to worry about the foot kind of getting left behind and doing this, or having to counter animate things. I just move the character and I'm still animating IK if I need to. So this is how I would typically approach having a character do a flip or spin or anything like that. It's much simpler, and it preserves this root control so that I can save it for something else that could be very important. So for example, let's open a scene here, and do I remember where it is? No. There you go. Too many work files. So this is a very basic walk that I animated for a class a long time ago. Very simple rig here. Oh, take care, Sunflower. Happy New Year as well. Hope you have an awesome 2020. So this is a simple little walk here. Now, as you can see, the character is walking forward in a nice straight line. Perfect, nice. Don't need to do anything else really. But let's take all my controls here, and I'm just going to set it so that the character keeps walking forward. So now he keeps walking. So let's say we've got this character and we've animated this complex thing, maybe like the Zelda flip that I've been working on. We've got that complex animation, but we need to have this character move in a different way. Our director comes in and goes, you know, this animation looks great, but rotate them so that they're facing towards us. We can't move the shot camera, we have to move the character. Well, if I had animated the layout control, I'm in trouble, because now I'm going to have to try and figure out a way to globally move this character without affecting anything, which is possible, but it's much trickier. But if you leave the layout control in place, If I have to have the character walk towards me, I just rotate that. Done. If I have to have the character walk up a wall, done. If I have to have this character walking on a moving object, so let's say that instead of a floor here, this object is instead a train that the character is walking on top of. And let's just go all the way here. So we've got this train moving underneath the character. Well, without having to readjust any of my animation, or without having to try to animate the character following the train, following this moving object, and any tweak on the train then suddenly affects my character, and I have to redo the character, that's going to be a nightmare. Instead, I'll just take the layout control and constrain it to the train. So now, and I did in the wrong order. So floor, and then root, constrain, parent. Interesting. Oh, I know why. Okay, so let's do this again. Boop, there we go. That did it. So we've constrained the root to the train, and now we have the character walking on this moving object. Nice and simple. None of my animation has been affected. I've basically got free animation. And this applies to maybe instead of a train, this is some sort of maybe like the end of the Spider-Verse film, or maybe the Matrix or something like that. This character is on this like platform that's just rotating in this crazy manner. There you go. All my animation is in place, done. And it's much more complex than if I tried to animate this all by hand and try to have this character follow this object by animating every control manually. This would be a pain. So that's where the layout control comes in. It's a control that allows you to globally reposition or affect your animation without making it so that you have to fix a whole bunch of stuff and redo a whole bunch of stuff. Now, with that said, do you have to avoid using it at all costs? No. If you really have to, you can use it. There's nothing wrong with using it. And I know a lot of animators who do tend to kind of tweak it a little bit. It's mostly just there for the convenience of when you do need that kind of global control. So yeah, don't shy away from it, but also do be aware that if you do animate it, you're limiting your potential tweaking ability later on. Okay. I use it for reposition all the time. Yeah. Especially in the early phases of animation when you're just blocking out a shot, it is so useful just to be able to quickly reposition something and get it realigned with your camera or your set, something like that. Okay. So I'm just trying to get a nice hand pose here. Maybe something like that. The thumb, let's kind of add a little bit of rotation there. Do you know where I can get a skirt for Aya? Depending on the skirt you need, there are some in the extras, I believe. Now, if you're talking about like a skirt that is end cloth or something like that, you'd have to make it. for just kind of a simple skirt. I do believe there should be some in the Aya extras. If none of them fit what you're looking for, what you can do is message Richard Van Hull on the AM site, and he's the one that mods a lot of the AM rigs. And usually he will be open to creating a mod for you if you need one, which can be very nice. Let's see. Is it possible for me to get help fixing a rig? I don't know how much help I will be. I used to do rigging, but that was a long time ago. Every rig is kind of different. But if you do have questions or anything specific, I'd be happy to give it a try at least. It's always worth a try. Let's see. I'm trying to think which angle for the hand do I want. Kind of think I wanted a straight line from the wrist there. Ooh, we're getting jazzy music tonight. I like jazz sometimes. For working, not usually. Jazz is a little too chaotic for work. It was a basic rig, then went horribly wrong. Yeah, if there's anything specific, definitely let me know. It was pulled from my final year show last year. Okay. Would you recommend making a custom rig or using Advanced Skeleton? Advanced Skeleton or any editing or skeleton tool can be very helpful. It's just a good place to start. I used to rig everything manually, so everything by hand. But things like, for example, Maya uses, is it Advanced Skeleton? I always forget. No, I don't want to use that. Human IK. But that's pretty good too. I've used it once or twice on small projects, and it's nice. So don't feel like you shouldn't use tools. The only reason, and this goes with animation as well, the only reason you don't want to use tools is that when you're first learning, and if you start using tools right away, you're limiting your ability to solve issues on your own, because the tools are going to be there to kind of to help with any little things that might not work. Is that a bad thing? Not at all. It helps speed your workflow quite a bit. But if you have to move to a different studio, so for example with animation, let's say you've got a plugin that does all the constraints for you. Perfect. You're animating, click a button, constraint done. Oh, life is glorious and fast and easy. It's beautiful. But then you get to hired at a studio and they don't allow you to install that plugin. They don't allow plugins like this. They have their own plugin, or they want you to do it by hand. Suddenly, you don't know what to do anymore because you had this plugin helping you this whole time. That's bad. So what I typically recommend to my students is learn the program first. Doesn't mean you have to stick with it forever, but just get an understanding of how things work basically. For example, Maya constraints. Once you have that understanding, then go to a plugin and speed up your workflow. But if ever you have to go back to using basic Maya or basic whatever, you're not lost. You can still work and actually get things done. I've had to use Advanced Skeleton for my final. Nice. Yeah, I know some people who've used Advanced Skeleton and it's really nice. It's a really good plugin. Definitely recommend using it. Speeds things up a lot. Okay. Let's get rid of some keys here. Don't need them. So I'm just setting some keys here so that the hand kind of holds this position, and then I can transition from here into a new position. But let's see. Would you recommend? Okay. So yeah, if you do have anything specific on that rig that you'd like me to take a look at, definitely let me know. I'd be happy to help. Let's see, basic rig, and then went horribly wrong. Yeah, rigs do that, unfortunately. Okay, so what I want here is for the hand to kind of expand a little bit, I think. So let's see if I maybe take this finger, bring it in just a little bit. I want this hand to be very subtle. I don't want a lot of action going on in this backhand here. It's going to pull focus away from where I actually want the audience to be looking. So let's get this in here. So for anyone who's wondering, like, I keep looking down. When I'm posing out hands, I'm always looking at my own hand. So I'll just kind of do the pose that I want, look at the angle of my fingers, and then just kind of replicate it on the rig. Not exactly, because it's not going to be a perfect one-to-one, but it gives me a starting point. So just relaxing the hand a little bit more. Maybe bring that finger in just a little bit. And the thumb. And let's take that index finger and bring it in just a little bit more. So something like that. So now as the hand comes up, we should feel a little bit of the hand opening, just slightly. I could probably hold it a little longer. Let's do that. So let's take that. Okay. So I'm just going to take this key here, maybe move it 2 more frames. Okay, now I'm going to break it down a little bit. And basically what I want to do for this breakdown is make it so that the fingers don't all uncurl at the same time. So, for example, the pinky is going to favor the previous pose. And I'm just going to use the tween tool here just to quickly get it in place. The ring finger, same thing. Favor the previous pose. Middle finger, favor. Something like that. And actually, let's take all of the hand keys and I'm just going to offset them a couple of frames here. So we get a little bit of a slower expanding there. Now there is a pop in the rotation somewhere. Probably right in here. Or actually, is it in the wrist itself? Yes, it is. Right there. Okay. And let's hold just a little bit longer there. Let's see. Do you still practice modeling sculpting? Not as much as I would like to, although I'm hoping to actually get back into it this year. Or I should say in the new year. I want to start doing some sculpting, not just for like rigging and stuff, but for 3D printing. So that is something I'm hoping to get into in the new year and actually be able to do some 3D printing. I actually just got, so this is a failed print right here. So let's go full screen. So this was a failed print. It stopped halfway. And this is not something I sculpted. This was a test. So let's see if I can, there you go. So that, you can see where it stopped. The head and the wings are just cut off. But yeah. So I want to be able to do stuff like that. I want to start doing some of my own sculpts and whatnot. So that's going to be the goal. We'll see how far I get. I think I can push the handle a little bit more closed here. I'm not liking that I'm not feeling anything. I was trying to be too subtle. I think this needs to be moved over, and moved over. There we go. Now we're feeling that. There we go. On Anibot, is there a difference between tween machine and blend to neighbor? Oh, so the green and the yellow sliders? Is that what you mean? So you've got this one here, which is the smooth rough, and then the tween, the tweener. And yep, my camera is full screen again. See, I stopped streaming and doing Q&As for a week, and already I'm totally forgetting how to do all this, and I keep forgetting to share my screen. It's sad, really. So between these two sliders, the tweener, the yellow one, is going to in between two of the poses you currently have. So I can go between those. The smooth, what is it? Smooth rough. will kind of exaggerate your poses, and you can just keep dragging it, so I can keep exaggerating this hand pose. Like you can see, it just goes all crazy. So that's the main difference. Where can I send you the rig? If you upload it to Google Drive or something like that, and then send me the link or Dropbox, you can post it in the chat here, or you could send it over on the Pratt Bros Discord, which is linked down below. There's another yellow slider called Blend to Neighbor, and I've never managed to understand the difference between blending to neighbor keys and Tween Machine. Is there another yellow slider? Oh, right here? Okay, yeah. There's a lot. Blend to buffer. Okay, that blends to buffer. Blend to default. That goes to the default of the rig. Blend to ease. Makes an ease. This is blend. I'm not sure where that one is. Blend to mirror. Blend to neighbor. Okay. That's probably the old tool signature. Blend your current pose to the neighboring pose. Okay. Whereas a tweener. What is the difference? Just looking at it, I'm not sure what the difference is. I would assume it's just the way it handles the breakdown. See, that favors like so. And this does the same. Interesting. Yeah, it seems like it basically does the exact same thing. Visually, I'm not really seeing a difference. Dragging the slider gives you finer control. The dots are pre-made points. Yeah, it kind of seems like that could be the case. The other thing... Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to do it on a more extreme pose than this. This is not showing the best results in terms of variation. Okay, so I've got the hand basically going here. The arc of the hand definitely needs some work. It kind of flattens out a little too much there and then pops right here. But I've got the motion of the fingers pretty much working now. And it is very subtle. I don't want that to be a big motion. I could actually maybe make it a little bit bigger. So right here, probably just curl the fingers in a little bit. But let me take a look at this link here. Oh, do you have the link to the file? I think this link is just linking to Google Drive itself. If you right-click on the file in Google Drive, there should be a share link button, or it should say, yeah, get shareable link. Let's just try to change this super quickly here because I want to see what this is going to create here. So I want to take this and let's just rotate it in and make sure I'm actually on the right joints here. So I want to bring that in and okay. Yeah, sets. This is off. I want that off. There we go. There we go. Now we get that unfurling of the fingers. I'll have to refine it later, but I think that's kind of what I want right there. Yeah. So it's just a subtle thing, but now we get this kind of rotation of the fingers instead of just the hand doing this. Okay, let me get this link here. And if you want, I could look at it after, or I could look at it right now. I don't mind either way. If I look at it right now, I can give some live feedback for you, depending on how quickly we can find what's going on. So let me extract that here. And let's open it up. Fine either way. Okay, so let's do it here. There we go. So this is the rig. Nice. I love the hair. That's awesome. Okay. So is there any specific area that is not working? So shoulder control. Okay. Got that. Let's make sure I don't select the geometry here. Got the head. This is the PV. Yep. All right. Pull vector. K arm. Let's see. So hip control. And got this is the move all. Okay. Back control. Torso control. Okay. So we've got that. FK. This the switch, the bends. Okay. So certain things. The skin was doing weird things when it was animated. Okay. So for example, if I take this is the arm twist, like the shoulder here and like right in there, things like that, where the arm starts to twist and kind of pinch inwards. Would that be one? Okay, so what's happening there is the skin weights need to be painted a little bit more. So skin weights, for anyone who doesn't know, is how Maya determines which joint each vertice will follow. And by default, Maya tends to do an okay job dealing with skin weights, but it can sometimes run into issues like this where you start to get like this deformation. So there's a couple of ways you can deal with this. One is to try and refine the skin weights. So for example, let's select the body here, and I haven't done this in newer versions of Maya, so skin, paint skin weights, and actually skin, where is my skin weight tool? There we go. So let's find the skeleton here. No, that's not it. Actually, this is one thing to watch out for. It looks like you've got some construction history going on quite a bit here. So, for example, I'm seeing like this form node right there, and like these polysurface nodes. So this kind of gives me an idea that things were combined or fused together from different pieces, which is not a bad thing. But before you start rigging, you definitely want to delete all of that history. So for example, before anything is rigged, go to Edit, Delete by Type History, right there. The main reason is this construction history will get in the way and start to get in the way and break things. The music is so loud today. Usually the music's nice and quiet. So let's find the joints. IK. Okay, those are the IK controls. Oh wait, that's why. Whoop, joints. There we go. Okay, so your joint system looks pretty good. I think you could probably connect the joint systems together so that they're all one system, or like majority one system, instead of like you've got the neck separate from the back, separate from the hips. It's not a bad thing, not at all. It's just a different approach to it. I'm personally a fan of having like one global skeleton, just because it makes it more like human anatomy, I guess. But what I'm looking for here is the skin weights. So this would be the shoulder here, most likely, because this is the thing that's, yeah. So right there you can kind of see how it's taking those vertices and really pulling them across. So this is arm root. So skin, paint skin weights. And let's find that arm root. Now this is where I haven't used this new tool in a long time. Or I've actually never used this skin weight tool. The one I used was a much older one, so this is going to be a fun experience for me. Just trying to relearn how it all works. Okay. Skin weight. NG Skin Tools. I've heard about that. That one, I've heard good things about it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You cannot paint on weights. That's interesting. So, yeah, you're right. You can't paint the weights. Okay. Well, let me check something here. So, this is something I always do when I'm working in Maya. I do it on my own projects all the time. Google. Google is your friend. So, I'm just gonna quickly Google can't paint weights, and let's see. History. Okay. Let's skin. So from what I can read here, it's the reason the weight can't be painted. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's why I had to pull it and cannot fix it. The thing that I'm seeing is it could be because the history is still in there. So let's delete by type. Let's try non-deformer history. I was just gonna break the rig. Yeah. Okay. So undo that. Edit, delete by type. That's still going to break it. But one thing I do want to test is, let's assign a Lynn or Lambert. Okay, and now let's see if the paint tool will actually work. So just looking at the surface here. Let's look at the history. Okay, there's no history. So skin, paint skin weights, still the X. Interesting. So let's undo. And let's see what we've got. I did not learn rigging probably, so I'm not sure what you're doing. Right now, I'm just kind of doing all sorts of random things just to see what's going to solve it. So once I figure out what's going on, then I'll go over how to solve it. So doing following, so joint, paint, turn on smooth shading mode by selecting shading smooth shade all. I believe, yep. Paint skin weights tool. Yeah, so it's not allowing the objects to be selected. So let's do a quick test here, just to see how the tool works. Can you reskin the bones and then paint when you delete the history? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is that everything would have to be reskinned in order to get this to work. So I'm just going to do a quick test here, just with a simple object. Just as a kind of test to make sure my tools are working. And this is something I do, especially with animation. So let's say you're trying to create constraints, or you're trying to create motion tracking or something like that, and it's not working in your scene. Same thing with rigging. You're trying to do this thing and it's not working. What I like to do is I like to go back to basics. So I'll just create a new scene, totally empty, and just use simple things like polygon cubes and spheres and see if I can get those to work. So right now I'm just kind of waiting for Maya to catch up here because it's loading. I should have just made a new scene with my Zelda file instead of opening up another window, but hopefully it won't take too long. While that's loading, actually, let me reopen this scene so we get back to basics, and I'll try to, let's just go back to the very core here, which is basically we need to be able to skin this character and have the ability to paint the skin weights. If we don't have that, nothing else is going to matter really. So let me just take this. I'm going to duplicate the geometry here. Let's pull it out and let's call this skin geo. Okay, now with this duplicate, I'm just going to move that character off, center this back into place, and go to Edit, Delete by Type, History. So basically, with the geometry selected, you go to Edit, Delete by Type, History. This gets rid of any construction history on the rig. This makes it much easier to deal with errors that might happen because you're not going to have any history that might be causing conflicts. So for example, here there's a lot of history that could be causing issues, especially blends and clusters and things like that. Now, it might not be the issue, but it's just something to watch out for. The other thing is that you want your hierarchy to be pretty simple as well. So for example, if we look in the outliner, right now I've just got the skin geo, and it looks like it came with some stuff. So just the skin geo, nothing else. Compared to having a character 105 colon geo, character 105 colon geo, then the poly surface under that. That's a very complex hierarchy for just the skin. So let's use the human IK tool here. So character is going to be which one is it taking here? Let me just try something. Just simplify it down to this core. Okay. Let's create a skeleton. Make sure we can see joints. There we go. So this is the human IK that was created. And let's see. Character scale is good. Spine 3. Yeah, so these are the amount of joints we want in each thing. The default should be good. Okay. Definition. Okay. So let's just try to reposition these. And is there a mirror option here? Okay, there. I'll move this down. Boop. mirror matching. Okay. I'm learning this tool as we go, so we'll see how this goes. But if we kind of, oops, that's clavicle. If we bring that down a little bit there, bring the arm in. Something like that. And then pose out the hand. I'm not going to take too much time on this. I just want to get close enough that we're not going to have serious errors. So let's say something like that. The legs are pretty good. Let's get that foot into place here. Oop. And then back. Now, ideally, I'm doing this in the perspective view. When you're rigging, you want to do this from the orthographic views. Unlike animation, where the orthographic views are useful, they're not like bad, but in general, they're not going to be the views that are the most helpful to us. When you're doing rigging, this is going to be very helpful. You want to use your orthographic views because they're going to be what allow you to align a lot of this stuff and get proper alignment in there. Okay. So this is actually something with joints. If you're moving a joint, so you can see I'm moving this and it's moving the whole upper body. Or let me actually, the hand was a good example of this. So let's say I need to position this shoulder back a little bit, but if I move that, it's going to affect the lower arm back there. I believe, and let's see if I remember. Remember this here. I believe if you hold down a key, you can move one of the joints, and now I'm not going to remember it. Oh well. I might be confusing things. But let's go with that for now. It's going to be a terrible skeleton, but it's just in place for now. So we've got our skeleton, our geo. And no, it's not parallel to the x-axis. That's fine. I'm just doing this very roughly. So let's skin and just do a bind skin. There we go. So now, if I move this, we've got our rig skin. Now, before you do this, make sure you have the joints properly positioned, because if you don't, like I've done here, it's going to be awful. It's going to be just horrible. But we've got things skinned. Now, the problem here is going to be very similar to what we had before, is things are not going to be moving correctly. So for example, there's going to be pinching there. It's going to be bending in the wrong directions. So this is where, once you have it skinned, you would go to skin, paint skin weights, and let's see if this is going to work now. There we go. So if we take our, for example, left arm joint here, so this left shoulder, the left shoulder as it's moving should probably not affect all the way down to the ribs of the character. So left shoulder. There we go. So what I might want to do is paint that out. And start to refine where that shoulder is affecting. So it should not affect probably the other side of the character there. And this is where you do your skin weights. So it looks like the issue is, yeah, it should definitely not affect the face. Another thing you can do is just flood it so that there's no control, and then just paint it back in where you want the control to affect. So the specific things that the rig had before cannot be transferred, like the breathing. Let's see. This is going to depend. So do you mean the rig before? So you're working with a previous kind of rig model. So let me actually reset this. So is this skeleton from a previous rig? Or like this setup here? And it's new geometry? Or no? Let's see. Let me show joints. So if you have this setup here, like we don't want to delete everything here. So, because you definitely don't want to have to restart everything, because if it's got breathing controls, and like you've got all your facial controls, all that, you don't want to have to redo all of this from scratch. Yeah. So breath. Okay, so the breath control just affects these, but you can see how the breath control is, it definitely needs to be painted because it's just pulling the skin in very strange ways. So the joints need to be rebound here. Okay. So we've got the skeleton here. Okay. So all of this is the skeleton. Pad. Let me see if I can just take the geometry. How would I want to do this? Because I can't, with the rig setup here, I can't just do a normal skin because all of the joints are separate. So it's not just going to be a matter of doing a straight skin like I did on the last one. Instead, okay. So the first thing I would normally do for something like this is let's just clean up things we don't need. So this cluster is there, that's for the mouth control. GUI window. Clothing group. I don't know if that's necessary for now. Teeth controls. Yeah, that's Not necessary. Bottom teeth. Are there teeth? Okay, there are. Although these are tiny little teeth within the main teeth. So there's an extra set of teeth right here within the mouth itself. So those don't need to be in there. I don't think this needs to be in here. That doesn't need to be in there. Poly surface. This looks like another tiny piece of geometry. Yeah, so don't need that. Character IK. Let's show the IK handles here. Okay, so these are all the IKs. Those definitely need to stay in there. Curve. Okay, so this is what exactly? Okay, so these are the curves that are controlling the spine. Interesting. I've never seen a rig do that before. Back clusters, skeleton, hip pad. This is just an empty group, so probably don't need that. That's an extra camera, don't need that. Don't need those. Global control, move all control. Okay, so now we have the skin. Let's get rid of the clothes. This is the tongue, so let's rename that. And then this is the skin. Do we need this? Nope. Still everything's intact. Good. Nope. Nope. Okay. It was a special rig for what I was doing. I was supposed to lose realistic or semi-realistic look. Interesting. Let's see if we've broken anything so far by deleting. So far, everything's still working, so we've still got that. Yeah, so yeah, see, you can see here in the mouth, the tongue geometry is being pulled by the jaw, but not by the top of it. So it's just deforming everything. This is the big thing with rigging, is that the weights are going to be kind of king here. So we've definitely cleaned things up quite a bit. Yeah, if you found it, the rig itself, in terms of like the geometry, is fantastic. The edge loops, like the way the mouth is laid out, that's beautiful. It's basically all set up to be deformed, and all of that is really good. It's the rig itself in terms of just trying to connect things here, which seems, it's not bad, but it definitely feels like there's something different. I'll put it that way. I've never worked with a rig like this before, with all of the separate segments. So in order to get this working, what needs to happen? The skin needs to be fixed. That's really it. That's what it boils down to. I had it specially made by my lecturer, but something went wrong that she couldn't fix. Interesting. So the skin itself needs to be weighted, but the skin can't be weighted because it is not taking in the joint information here. It's like it's not registering where the skin is being connected to. Okay. So why is it not showing properly? Let's see. Trying to. I wonder if. Let's undo this. Okay. I'm just going to try something here. The fun part of animation or rigging or anything like that. Let's just try. Okay, got the skin here, so I just made a duplicate of that. And I'm going to hide the original. So now we've just got this clean, new copy. I'm going to delete history, just to be sure. And let's see. Okay. We've got that. Now our skeleton is here. Okay. So let's try this. Nope, not quite. Let's do selected joints. And let's hide the IK handles and just select all the joints themselves. Okay. There we go. So I've reskinned it, but it's not following along nearly where it should. So let's see if I can now paint the skin weights. Still nothing. But I've broken it even better, so yay! Always good when you can actually break it a little bit more. Wait a second, is it just the skin weight types that were... Let me undo this. Turn that off, turn this on. Let's double check this. Skin, paint skin weights. Okay, no. So, with the new one, the weights are off completely, but if I select this and go to paint skin weight and go to DQ, and let's select Interesting. Skin weight. Yes, Dragon Quest. I love the music for Dragon Quest. It is fantastic. Okay, what broke here? Okay. Let's see here. Just going to dig in here a little bit more. Okay, so there's a skin cluster, all the different nodes, color set. All the controls, going for the eyes, mouth. Okay. So there's the skinning right there. Let's see. No. This might be something I'll have to look into after, just because it's going to take a little bit, and I don't want to keep people hostage here as I'm digging through outliners and stuff. But it's definitely an interesting challenge. I personally love kind of things like this, just because it is kind of a puzzle to me. So I'm kind of interested in figuring out what's going on here. Classic linear. Classic linear should be fine. Oh, no worries. It is not a problem at all. I'm just more interested in what's going on here. Because everything is skinned correctly in the sense of it's following the joints, all of that, but we're not able to affect the skin weights, which that is interesting. See. Oh, and I just crashed Maya. Okay, yeah, so I'll look into this on my own time afterwards, but I actually have to get going to a meeting. I just saw the time. Yeah, that is definitely strange. And I'm interested in finding out what is causing that issue. And if you do have more information like that you notice, feel free to message me, and we'll see if we can figure out what's going on here. But for now, I'm actually going to have to call it here. We didn't get as much animation done as I had hoped. Basically, I just animated one hand, but we did answer a bunch of questions, so hopefully that was still helpful. And I just noticed that my root control is up in the air. So let's put that back down. Yep. There we go. Now the character's on the ground. So, let's see. Yeah, I think with that, we can call it here. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful new year. This is the last stream of 2019. So I guess I'll see you all in 2020, hopefully. Hope you have a wonderful new year. Lots of fun. Get to relax, spend time with family and friends. And for those of you just starting out the new Animation Mentor term, congratulations. I hope you're going to have an amazing time. And yeah, I'll see you around, and all the best in 2020. Take care. Bye.